Hey everybody, welcome. Welcome to weekly live Q&A here at Trauma Recovery University. I'm so excited that you're here. Tonight's topic is depression. We've received a lot of emails over the last 3 years and even more lately over the last few weeks regarding the topic of depression. And specifically, what are the warning signs of depression? How do I know if I'm sad versus depressed? So really quickly, I just want to let you know who this video is for and who it's not for. So if you are an adult survivor of some sort of childhood trauma, complex trauma, childhood abuse, any type of childhood abuse, whether that be emotional abuse, physical, sexual, verbal, religious abuse, cult abuse, ritual abuse, any type of abuse during childhood, and you are now an adult, you're over 18, this video is for you. So who's this video not for? This video is not for trolls, not for cyberbullies, and not for people who are not in a place where they can receive care and compassion or give care and compassion. So if you're here live for live Q&A, give yourself a thumbs up on this video, or if this channel has been helpful to you, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you are triggered or you're not in a place where you can receive care and compassion, just pause the video, stop the video, step away from the video, receive the compassionate care that you need by reaching out to our friends over at RAINN, the Rape Abuse Incest National Network, RAINN.org, or by dialing 1-800-656-HOPE. Or you can reach out to the crisis text line by texting the word HELP to 741-741. So we have a live discussion going on over in the YouTube chat box, and we also have a live discussion going on Twitter right now using the hashtag #NoMoreShame. So we've all just been coming here every week for over 3 years now, and we all support one another. And again, you are welcome here with us. Even if you've never felt like you belong or that you're struggling and you just don't really fit in anywhere, you belong here. So everyone deserves kind and compassionate care. So please do show compassion and kindness to anyone that's new here. And if you are new, welcome, welcome. And if you've been here every week for 3 years, welcome. I'm super excited that you're here, and I hope that I can add value to your life in some way tonight. So really quickly, let me see if I've forgotten to tell you anything. Please read the video description down below this video if you are here to participate in the live discussion. That way you know what we're talking about, you know the direction this conversation is going in, and you can be prepared. And if you are here live and you are on multiple social media platforms, please copy onto your clipboard the crisis help information for the Rape Abuse Incest National Network or for crisistextline.org. And that way you can paste it quickly for someone who might be in crisis. So you guys are the reason this community is so helpful and transformational and powerfully healing. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you especially to our volunteers, to moderators, and we're sending, excuse me, I have like a little bit of the hiccups before I went live, so pardon me if I'm like hiccuping in your guys' ears. I tried holding my breath, so hopefully that won't happen. But you guys were sending a lot of love and care and compassion to our friend Dawn tonight. Just send her some cyber hugs or hellos or some virtual confetti or safe hugs or whatever it is that you would like to send her. But we're thinking of you, Dawn, and we love you so much. And just a really huge high five to Matt, who is our moderator tonight. And thank you to all of you guys that show up on the comment section of these videos after the fact. Throughout the week, throughout late Monday night, early Tuesday, all the way through Monday mornings. I just appreciate you guys being there in the comment section, giving me your feedback, supporting one another. You guys are incredible. And just a friendly reminder, when we have bullies and trolls that are on our channel and they're leaving ugly comments, please don't engage with them. Please don't even entertain their nonsense. If someone is in a place where they are being a bully or being rude or unkind or vulgar or abusive, please don't engage with them. Please don't ask them questions. Please don't send them pertinent information. Please don't discuss things with them. Just ignore. just ignore it and move on with your day. No need. I really appreciate you guys being kind and commenting and being sweet and supportive, but it's not going to do any of us any good if we try to egg on people or ask them questions, or especially after the fact, like once they've already gone away. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to dive into tonight's topic, which is depression. And I'm going to read you a question from one of our community members. Really quickly, I'm going to go over and just see who is here and just greet some people and say hi. Anyone who's asked questions so far. So Heroes Don't Wear Capes, hello, hello Poppy, hello Paul, hello John, hello Hunter, hello Joey, hello Ann, hello Julie, hello Gary, and anyone else who might be here already. Oh my goodness, we have like 50 of you guys here so far, and we're only like 10 minutes into this. So this is super exciting. You guys, our community is growing by leaps and bounds. I was looking at our analytics today on the channel, and just since February, we have 1,500 new subscribers to the YouTube channel, and we have 1 million minutes watched on our channel just since February. So that's super encouraging, and I just want to say thank you because, again, you guys are the reason why this is so amazing. So all the credit goes to you guys, this amazing community, and I'm just excited to be a part of this with you. So I'm going to go ahead, and I have a screen share tonight for you guys. So get into screen share mode. I don't know if you guys, some of you have, tell me that you have journals and you get out and you take notes. I'm going to go ahead and start with tonight's screen share. I'm going to go ahead and read through it. And please get your questions in sometime between now and the next 45 minutes. So whatever questions come up that you want asked, I will get to as many of them as possible before 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, and just get them in within the next 45 minutes if you can, okay? So let me see if I can get tonight's screen share ready for you guys. I have it here, and can you just let me know if you can see our screen share. It's sadness or depression, live Q&A. I'm hoping you guys can see it. Give this video a thumbs up. And if you guys want to invite anybody that you know that's on social media right now that might benefit from this, that might be living with depression or be struggling with questions of, am I sad? Am I depressed? What is it that's going on with me? Then please, by all means, invite them. We have some really helpful tips and some support strategies for anyone that's living with depression. So hopefully you can see this. Let me just get a drink of water really quick, you guys. Okay. So community member R asks Athena, why is it I feel unable to help myself when I feel down? I'm struggling with knowing if I'm just sad or if I'm truly experiencing quote unquote depression. Also, I'm feeling super ashamed of my general inability to act like other people. Why can't I just feel good and normal all the time like other people I know? So first of all, you guys know me, and I'm going to point out that we're shooting ourselves all over the place. I should be able to feel good and normal all the time like other people I know. So it's super easy for us to fall into that trap of what I see online is that I see a lot of people feeling good and normal all the time, which is impossible. Nobody feels good and normal all the time. Besides, what in the world is normal anyway, right? So it's easy for us to fall into that trap of comparing ourselves to others, which is totally a trap, by the way, you guys. When we compare ourselves to others, it is super counterproductive, and we begin feeling super depressed, even more depressed than we were before, or at the very least, more sad. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right in tonight because it is kind of a loaded topic, and there's a lot of information and research that I have on this topic. So what an excellent and applicable question for the millions of adults who may either someday be watching this video or who are currently living with mental illness or unresolved complex trauma. Childhood abuse and complex trauma have a long list of potential after effects ranging from physical to emotional to spiritual and relational. Depression is one of those after effects. So you guys, I'm going to pause right there and I'm just going to let you know, okay, down in the bottom of this particular screen share that I'm doing, I'm going to go and I'm going to give you some recommendations and I'm going to discuss further like sadness versus depression. Also, if you want to pause really quick and go over to the description section of this video, down below this video, at the very towards the bottom, you will see a clinical description from the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Illness, 5th edition, the DSM-5. You will see what it says about depression, and you will also see 3 links. Now, you guys know of that website, our very dear friend Jody, One Last Kick Jody. She writes for The Mighty. The Mighty is an awesome website for anyone living with mental illness. And its reach is, there are so many readers on The Mighty. It has such a wide reach, a global reach. So they have a playlist on YouTube specifically on depression. They have an entire section of their website on depression, tons of people's stories, and they also have a section on Facebook, like an area where you can join and take part in discussion only on the topics of depression. And then down further in this screen share, we're going to go through lots of different ways where you can easily just wherever you're at right now, Google certain phrases and feel better today if you are living with depression. So here we go. So adults who were abused as children, I'm right here. Adults who were abused as children have twice the risk of developing clinical depression as adults who were not abused during childhood. The Mayo Clinic describes depression as a mood disorder that causes a persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest. Also called major depressive disorder or clinical depression, it affects how you feel, think, and behave, and can lead to a variety of emotional and physical problems. You may have trouble doing normal day-to-day activities, and sometimes you may feel as if life just isn't worth living. More than just a bout of the blues, depression isn't a weakness, and you cannot simply snap out of it. Survivors of childhood abuse are more susceptible to depression because of potential brain damage suffered, attachment trauma, or abandonment experienced during adolescent years, lack of distress tolerance, impaired self-worth, and lack of self-soothing skills. Pete Walker discusses susceptibility to depression and how it can take the form of gnawing hunger or extreme sleepiness in adult survivors of complex trauma. I highly recommend checking out Pete's groundbreaking work on his website at pete-walker.com and in his book, Complex PTSD, From Surviving to Thriving. So here are the 7 ways that we can know if we or our loved ones are living with depression. Screenshot this on your phone, okay? I want you to screenshot this and keep it handy. So, and then when we get down to the second section of this where you can feel better today, I want you to screenshot that also. So if you're on your mobile device, please screenshot this if you possibly can, or take some notes. Pause the video if you need to. I'm going to keep it here on this particular area so that you can take your time, learn how to screenshot. If you don't know how to screenshot, do whatever it is you need to do, because you guys are the priority. This is for you, and I want you to be equipped and feel better today. Okay, number 1, these are 7 ways you can know if you or your loved ones are living with depression. Number 1, persistent digestive issues, body aches and pains, which were not present before. Number 2, sudden or recent change in eating behaviors, such as overeating or loss of appetite. Now, I want to be really careful when I talk about this one, number 2. This is not to be confused with any of us who are living with an eating disorder. If there's anorexia nervosa, if there's bulimia, if there's binge eating disorder, there's any three of those eating disorders or eating behaviors that are going on in your life right now, then please don't automatically assume that you have depression because you've had a change in your eating behavior, when in fact you might be living with some sort of eating disorder, okay? Just wanted to add that note there. Number 3, sudden shift in demeanor or overall signs of hopelessness or despair. It may seem like your loved one could sleep all day or feel like, why bother getting out of bed? Maybe even the feeling of not being able to even get out of bed. Number 4, noticeable change in mood surrounding activities or things that they find pleasure in. A sudden lack of interest in the activities, people, or events that they normally enjoy. Feelings of emptiness, no matter what they do. Having fun is literally impossible no matter how hard they try or how hard loved ones try to cheer them up. They are just unable to enjoy anything at all. Number 5, noticeable bouts of silence, irritability or anxiousness, sudden onset of restlessness or being unable to relax, sometimes discussed or described as just being bored, but in a way that seems grumpy or snappy and out of character, even though they're unable to accurately describe in words what is bothering them. Ultimately, isolation takes over and the will to try to feel better is completely lost. Number 6, shift in outlook on life. Noticeable pessimism, catastrophizing, negativity about the present and the future, an overall vibe of why bother, leading ultimately to feeling completely stuck with no words to describe why they feel stuck, followed by an overwhelming numbness to feelings. Now I want to pause here on number 6, you guys, right here, and I want to hone in on these words right here with no words to describe why they feel stuck, okay? This is a big one. This is a big one. This isn't the most important one, but I want to really drive this home because if we are sad versus being depressed, and I'm talking from a clinical perspective here, okay? I'm talking from a trauma-informed practitioner's perspective. If my client is stuck and we are working together, there is not as much concern on my end for my client if they're able to engage in a conversation with me, describing in words what it is that is bothering them, what it is that they feel may be the reason they are stuck, what it is that is overwhelming them, what it is that's bothering them, what it is that they're feeling uneasy about, or why they're feeling negative, or why they've had such a shift in their outlook, or why they're feeling pessimistic, or why they're frustrated, or they have words. They're using words. They're engaging in a conversation with me, and they're telling me what's going on with them. That is going to bring me less concern and less alarm than if one of my clients has no words to describe why they feel stuck. Now, I'm not talking about like the hipster sort of way where, you know, you'll kind of post on social, I have no words. Like that's kind of a fun, like flippant, sort of a catchy, hip way to say like, oh, no way. Like, I don't even believe that. I have no words. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about a client sitting in front of me, frozen, completely numb, overwhelmed, negative, silent. They have a noticeable change in mood. They're having digestive issues. They can't sleep. They can't relax. They have all these things going on. And in addition to that, they have no words. That is a huge red flag for me, the practitioner, that I need to refer my client to a therapist that specializes in depression. I need to refer my client to a psychologist or a psychiatrist someone that I know on my own personal list of trauma-informed practitioners that specializes in depression, clinical depression, major depressive disorder, someone who I know and trust, and I know that their clients have had a good outcome. Because I know at that moment that this is beyond me. This isn't, I'm not while I do have private clients that I take on, I do not specialize in depression. That's not something I specialize in. So I really wanted to drive that home on number 6. If you're thinking right now and you're watching this video because one of your children is exuding these characteristics, please take note and really hone in and engage with them and find them professional help if you notice that they have no words to describe why they're feeling the way they're feeling, in addition, of course, to all the other things that we just described here. Okay? Super duper important to remember. Moving on to number 7, the last one, and of course, this is obvious, mention of suicide. They let you know that that they are contemplating killing themselves, contemplating taking their own life. They're contemplating dying because they just can't find the will to live. They don't want to live any longer. Or if you're noticing self-harm behavior, if you notice that they're cutting, if you're noticing scars, if you're noticing all the other things that we mentioned, 1 through 6. Any mention of a suicide attempt, suicidal ideation, also known as suicidal thoughts, or even that constant low-grade fantasy of dying or falling into a permanent state of sleep, just so they don't have to be in pain all the time. And they've mentioned, perhaps you've noticed them giving away belongings that mean a lot to them. Like if they have like a collection of stamps or coins, or they've been collecting Beanie Babies, or they have a certain collection of football jerseys, or they have a sticker collection or whatever. And you've noticed that they have things that really mean a lot to them, but they want to give them away to like their favorite cousin or their aunt, or they even give something like that to you as a gift on a holiday. If they exude the other 6 characteristics, and hopefully you will have been fully engaged with your loved one at this point and you will have seen these red flags, but please don't take these things lightly. These are all signs, when they're all in correlation with one another, that someone could be living with major depressive disorder, clinical depression, and they're not just sad. Okay, so on to the good part of this for the next several minutes. How do we feel better today? So first thing you can do is invite your loved one to view this video. I want you to look at the clock on the video right now, and I want you to write down the time of the video that we're on, so they don't have to sit through all of the welcome and the hi, and they don't know me. They don't like my personality. They haven't been with me for 3 years, what have you. Like, just make sure that it fast forwards to a part where it's actually applicable to them, especially if they're living with depression. They just don't have any emotional energy to deal with anything else. So invite your loved one to view this video. Fast forward it to this point in the video, or maybe even to this point in the video right here. But we want them to feel better today, so perhaps fast forward it to this point in the video. Number 2, acknowledge that your loved one may very well feel ashamed about feeling depressed. This is so common, you guys. It's not even the depression that causes us to feel so low. It's the fact that we're so ashamed of being depressed. And we know that the moment we reach out for help, we're going to hear the same thing we've heard over and over and over again. So please keep in mind that when a loved one is exuding, several of those characteristics of the 1 through 7 that we just talked about, they could be feeling ashamed about it as well. And that adds to it. It's like a snowball effect. It's overwhelm upon overwhelm. Number 3, let your loved one know that you care about them and that you are a safe place for them to share. Number 4, never say, "You're okay. I felt sad before too. Everyone feels sad." This type of comment is extremely minimizing, and it's very re-traumatizing for someone who could be dealing with depression, major depressive disorder, clinical depression, especially as a result of some sort of childhood trauma or something that they've gone through previously. So please never say, oh, you're okay, get over it, it's all right. Everybody feels sad. It's all right, you're gonna be fine. Try not to fall into that trap, because society is sort of in that, they sort of preach this in a way, that even though we're very well-meaning sometimes, it can come across in a very minimizing way, and it is extremely re-traumatizing. Next bullet point. Try saying out loud, if it's you, or perhaps if it's, if this is your loved one, but if it's you who's feeling like you could be falling into a depression, or you're in a bout of depression right now, try saying out loud, I am choosing the most emotionally healthy option for me right now. I am doing my best, and my best is good enough. Just remind yourself that you are choosing whatever is most emotionally healthy for you right now, and that your best is good enough. And guess what? If you're not doing something that is the most emotionally healthy option for you at that moment, you're going to feel an incongruence. You're going to feel kind of like a gut feeling of like, oh, wait, I'm saying this, but this isn't really what's going on in my life. And so you will likely begin to move in the direction of, oh, well, what is the most emotionally healthy option for me right now? Because deductive reasoning would dictate that we would go, oh, well, if I'm choosing the most emotionally healthy option right now, what is the most emotionally healthy option for me right now? And I am doing my best, and my best is good enough. It's really important that we affirm ourselves, that we are enough, and that our best looks different on any given day. Next bullet point. Exercise of any kind increases the level of happiness producing chemicals in our brains. Try getting out in nature every day, even if it's only for 5 minutes a day. Next bullet point. Breathe deeply 5 times or once per hour. For instance, at 12 o'clock, breathe deeply 5 times. 5 times. It will usually take you about 15 to 20 seconds, sometimes 25 seconds, to breathe deeply 5 times. And if you do that once per hour, like if you have a Fitbit, you set a little alarm for it to go buzz on your wrist every hour on the hour. If you just take 5 deep breaths once per hour, it will increase the level of serotonin in your brain, and your cortisol and your adrenaline won't be taking over and causing you to stress out. Next bullet point. Plan to go to bed 30 minutes earlier than you normally do. This small act of self-care lets our subconscious know that we consider ourselves worthy of taking care of. And this is huge. Anything that you can do to communicate the message to yourself that you are worthy of taking care of and you are worthy of caring about is going to help with depression, especially if we're talking about clinical depression and not just being sad. Next bullet point, care for your body with a healthy diet. Intentionally consume more whole plant-based foods such as raw cacao, chia seeds, and flax seeds. They contain healthy chemicals which cause your brain to feel less depressed. Now, if you want me to break this down like molecularly, what chia seeds and flax seeds and raw cacao contain is actually tryptophan. And it's the type of tryptophan, you've heard tryptophan like on Thanksgiving, how turkeys naturally contain tryptophan. Well, when you're consuming raw plant-based foods such as raw cacao, chia seeds, and flax seeds, which have a high level of tryptophan, it actually increases another chemical, serotonin, in your brain, which causes you to feel better and less depressed. So the mix of the chemicals, it has a healthy, positive effect on your brain when you actually consume any increased amount of whole plant-based foods. But the ones that are high in antioxidants and like the ones I've mentioned here are really, really, really going to help you. And I know, oh, there's another one of our community members that mentioned tofu. Anything high in magnesium also is going to help you out. So you can even Google that. Next bullet point. Focus on learning self-soothing skills to help yourself moderate the feelings of fear and abandonment that may be making your depression worse. Google self-soothing skills, and you will find a whole bunch of memes and images that will help you out. Next bullet point. Prioritize building up your self-worth, as this will help you combat the lies that depression tells us that we aren't good enough, we aren't worthy, or we're never going to feel better again. These are all lies. So Google the phrase, how to build up my self-worth, and you'll find a whole bunch of articles and a whole bunch of images that will be very encouraging for you. Next bullet point. Explore ways to increase your distress tolerance. Fear and high emotion were typically precursors to abuse in childhood. So we may overreact to fear and high emotion. Well, just being adults, we may overreact to them just as a result of anything that was fear related or any type of high level of emotion. If it was a precursor to violence in childhood, then it's going to trigger us in adulthood. So learning to sit with our distress and not react immediately is going to be very, very helpful in combating depression if you are in fact living with depression. So Google the phrase ways to increase distress tolerance, or Google the phrase distress tolerance skills. And you'll inevitably come up with a whole bunch of different memes or articles based on DBT. Dialectical behavior therapy, which is amazing for anyone living, recovering from any type of complex trauma. However, cognitive behavioral therapy is actually the best for depression. So we're going to move down to that on the next bullet point. Seek support. Consider accessing help through different forms of therapy and therapeutic modalities, such as play therapy, journaling, spiritual counseling, coaching, cognitive behavioral therapy. Right here, you guys, also known as CBT, is considered the best type of therapy for depression. But as survivors, we often benefit the most from a supportive group, such as the one that you're in right now, hanging out live with everybody else, asking questions, interacting, receiving the support you need. We benefit the most from supportive group of other trauma survivors. Expressive therapies are also extremely helpful for trauma survivors. So you guys, I want you to Google right here, Google free art therapy videos, and you'll get a whole bunch that come up, and you can look through those. Some of them are only 2 minutes long, and other ones are longer, but it's nice for you guys to get free resources, okay? Next bullet point. Seek validation, compassionate dialogue, and accountability from other survivors, like you're doing right here during this video, if you're here live. There can be tremendous healing in seeing how much your debilitating after effects of complex trauma match up with others who have gone through similar circumstances. The shackles of shame can fall to the ground when we hear the words, "me too." Next bullet point, seek medical help. Obviously, these videos are not a replacement for medical care. Seek professional medical help in all instances, especially if you think you're living with depression or any type of mental illness. Seek validation, compassionate dialogue, and accountability from a trauma-informed helping professional. They can help you feel less alone, and they can encourage you in making healthier daily choices through tools like tracker sheets, journal topics, and just by being trauma-informed themselves. Note, having a trauma-informed professional to meet with regularly can be life-changing for you and even life-saving. I've received some emails from you guys lately asking, what exactly does a trauma-informed practitioner look like? What does that even mean? I will be recording a video at some point, but in the meantime, Google the phrase trauma-informed professional, or what is trauma-informed, and you will get podcast episodes, blog posts on Psych Central, Psychology Today, The Mighty. You'll get a whole bunch of amazing articles if you Google trauma-informed care, trauma-informed professionals, etc., because you guys deserve to know what that looks like. Begin to speak out loud or in a virtual setting or a local support group about your daily and your weekly goals. Like if you have a goal of eating healthier food so that you feel less depressed, and, reach out and, seek some accountability from someone. But remember, Harriet, could you please pop up the video on accountability so that people can easily click and link up to that video on accountability? Seeking accountability is super duper duper healthy, you guys, but you got to make sure that you understand what accountability is as it pertains to your healing journey and what it isn't. So click that link that Harriet pops up in the next couple of days or so. It won't be there right now on Monday the 28th, but it'll be there later. But yeah, if you tell someone who's going to be like an accountability partner for you what your daily and weekly goals are, you can start slowly, implementing these goals and having them hold you accountable. Sharing your truth with those who will provide safe, non-judgmental support allows you, the survivor, you, the person healing from depression, to examine your behaviors in the light of day rather than continuing to keep them locked up in the dark recesses of your mind. Shame, the shame you feel from feeling depressed or sad or whatever it is that you're feeling ashamed about, shame cannot survive in community. Okay, it's amazing what can happen when we're in community with others. Next bullet point, I'm right here. Do your best to begin intentionally surrounding yourself with those in whom you have identified as safe people. Making the choice to start eliminating toxic or shame-inducing people from your sphere of influence is truly one of the most radical acts of self-love and self-compassion we can make. And remember, safe people are respectful of your healthy boundaries. Your whole life can change with just these two components. And what I mean by these two components are safe people and healthy boundaries. Right here, safe people and healthy boundaries. Learning what safe people look like, learning the red flags of unsafe people, and then establishing and maintaining healthy boundaries. It's life-changing for you, okay? As an adult survivor, next bullet point, right here. As an adult survivor who is over 18 years of age, know that you are the only one who will be in control of your recovery and your daily habits. You can choose to maintain relationships with your family of origin if you choose to do so, and you may move as slowly as you wish in implementing all of these things that will help you start feeling better today. Only you get to determine which choices you make or the changes that you're considering. Only you. Not your family, not your friends, not your boss, not your pastor, not your therapist, not your coach, and not me. You are the one that gets to choose. So just remember, don't give your power away. Don't give your power away to your partner. Don't give your power away to your friends. Don't give your power away to your family or your boss or your pastor or your therapist. Don't give that away. You, if you're over 18, you are responsible for your own well-being, and you are taking really healthy steps towards living a whole healthy life just by being here and wanting to educate yourselves. So don't discount that. It's huge that you're here on your own accord. If someone didn't pull you here and make you be here and yank you in by the ear and you're here on your own accord, then give yourself a pat on the back. Give yourself a thumbs up, because not everybody does that, okay? This is voluntary, and you're here because you want to feel better. So go you. I'm sending you some high fives. Next bullet point, right here. Know that your recovery will likely not be the same as someone else's. Every single person's healing journey is unique, and someone else's specific goals and habits are not going to be something which you necessarily agree with or that you would choose for yourself. So when we compare ourselves or we compare our recovery progress to someone else's, it is rarely helpful, and it is often very damaging. So lastly, we're right here. Make the choice to join in safe community, which if you're here live, that's exactly what you're doing. It's no more and no less than that. If you're here live on Monday, the 28th of August at 6:47 p.m. Pacific, 9:47 p.m. Eastern, and you're participating in a live discussion on Twitter using the hashtag #NoMoreShame, or you're on the YouTube channel and you are in the chat box, and even if you're not talking, you're just reading information and you're just there so that you can feel better, that's it. You have joined in safe community right here. That's what you're doing. And you're doing it. You're doing all the things. And I'm sending you high fives. Now, if you want to take it to another step, like there's not like free Tupperware or like a cult or anything crazy, but we do have several free groups, okay? And we have other low cost or even no cost groups that are especially for adults who are living with CPTSD symptoms. You deserve to receive acceptance, support, and encouragement. And when you finally receive non-judgmental support, you will begin to heal and recover from your trauma at an exponential rate, and you will not feel sad or depressed as often as you do now. There's strength in numbers. Choosing to be actively involved in safe community will help you feel stronger and less ashamed. And if you want to get plugged into virtual safe support community where you can practice new skills and become adept at creating healthy habits, all you have to do is go over to the About section of the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Trauma Recovery University TV. And there in the About section, you'll see if you friend Bobby, you friend me, you can friend Matt, and just let us know. I would like to heal in safe community. And then we'll get you plugged in. There is a waiting list right now. I'm doing the very best I can. I reached out to like 200 people last week, and it's going to take me a few weeks till I get through everybody. So please know that I care and I'm trying and I'm doing the best I can. And lastly, remember, nothing blooms beautifully all year round. There's a season for everything. It's okay for you to take a break. You're not weak. In fact, you are showing strength. Just by being here, you're showing strength. And what I mean here by nothing blooms beautifully all year round, I'm sort of tagging on that comment that was made up here, which is community member R wants to know, why can't I just feel good and normal all the time like other people I know? No one feels good and normal all the time. That's a complete facade. There's absolutely no way that anybody can feel good and normal 100% of the time. Nobody feels good and normal 100% of the time. It's some people feel good and normal more often than others, and some people feel good and normal less often than others, but no one feels good and normal all of the time, 100% of the time. Okay, let me just get some water, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to answer your questions, okay? Okay, I have a couple more minutes left for you guys to send in your questions, just a couple more minutes, and then I'm going to go ahead and spend some time answering them, but I'm going to get to as many of them as I possibly can. So here we go. Okay. John Harvey says, is there any food or herbs you can take alongside of your pills that can help fight against depression? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. There are some websites and some YouTube channels that do like vegan challenges, specifically raw vegan challenge. And I don't know if you guys are into all this kind of stuff, but I have been sort of on this path lately. Oh, Harriet, could you pop up the YouTube card that talks about nutrition, or when I talk about the foods and the nutrition and the supplements that help trauma survivors? Because that I talk about the anti-inflammatory food pyramid. I talk about green vegetables. I talk about all the different vitamins I take, and I brought all my vitamins and everything. I held them up to the camera, and I showed you guys what I take. So there are definitely different foods. I've been sort of doing more like a lot of raw foods and a lot of vegan foods. And you guys, I'm not saying it's the answer, it's the only answer, but the science behind it makes sense, because a lot of processed foods are addictive. And so if we eat live food for a live body, it makes sense. And then the amount of processed chemicals that are in it that are addictive, that sort of like do things to our mind and the way we process things, it just makes sense. So I have a list of all that in that video that I made. And then I follow a couple of different YouTubers. If you're interested, let me know. And I'm also starting up a food-based group, like trauma eating, like trauma-related food issues. Starting up a group in the first of the year that's going to be it's going to be a paid group, but it's going to be trauma-related food issues, and we're all going to sort of do life together from a food perspective so that we can sort of heal together and eat the healthiest foods possible. So, but in this particular screen share, I shared raw cacao, flaxseed, chia seeds. There's also like kale, spinach, and sometimes you can blend that stuff up and not even taste it. I know, for instance, we use a lot of kale and spinach in our smoothies, and you can't even taste it because we either use some stevia, which is a natural plant that naturally tastes sweet, and it's not sugar, and it's not corn syrup, and it's not sweet and low, and it's not sucralose and saccharin, and it's not all those other things. It's just a plant. And then I mix it with fruits, and just been doing a lot of raw and vegan foods, and I just feel so much better, and it's lifted my spirits. And I do sort of struggle with a little bit of depression, and I know I'm not alone, and I know that it's trauma related. I know it's because of the abuse I endured as a child. I know it's not just being sad because I'm not really a sad person. But when you live with depression, you live with depression, and you can't just will yourself to feel better and do better. Like, it's all the things that I mentioned in this video on the screen share. So yes, there are foods, and I'm hoping that helps you. John Harvey. Sabra says, is there any trick to fight against depression? Well, there's not any one trick, but there are several things that will fight against depression that I mentioned in the screen share. So I hope that you found that helpful, because I listed everything I know and everything I researched. Like, I listed it all there in the screen share. Gary Pfeiffer says, and by the way, thank you, John Harvey, and thank you, Sabra, for asking questions that are excellent questions so that everybody can learn. Gary Pfeiffer says, I was always depressed before recovering memories of my abuse, so I had no idea why I felt the way I did. Nobody was able to help me. What could I have done? Now I'm okay. In the screen share that I shared, like, there are just a lot of things that we can do that are very almost counterintuitive things. Like, it's not necessarily, the most common thing possible that people can think of to eat more chia seeds, flax seeds, or raw cacao. It's not necessarily the most common thing that people think of to breathe deeply 5 times once per hour. Or, oh, I know, I suck at life and I'm failing at life. I know, I'm going to go outside for 5 minutes. Like, it's like the last thing we want to do. But if we just choose to do the healthiest thing possible, there are lasting benefits. So again, like, I know that this video is going to get a whole bunch of thumbs downs probably, because they're like, we already know all this stuff. Like, that's the critic inside my head. We already know everything. What are you talking about? But I mean, these are just the things. I mean, I've spent a long time researching this because it's something I live with. So I hope that the things I mentioned on the screen share are things that you guys have either not tried yet, or you have tried and you're like, hey, I think I do remember that, like, that did help, and maybe I just need to go back to doing that again. And just something as simple as, just saying out loud, I am choosing the healthiest option possible right now. And then checking in with yourself, like, is that congruent? Am I really choosing the healthiest option right now? And if I'm not, what could I be choosing right now? And just sort of hold yourself accountable in that way. And again, it sounds simple, but it's just not. It's not simple. It's not easy. It's just not. First of all, we're all healing from trauma. That isn't even something we brought on ourselves. Like, it's something somebody else did. And so that's frustrating and that's depressing. So hopefully that helps. I'm glad you're feeling good now, though. I'm glad you're feeling better now. That's awesome. Joey says, the last weeks I have been not wanting to eat. I have to force myself to eat. Lately, I have been only eating once per day. Could this be related to my depression? You know, it could. It could, Joey. It really could be related to your depression. I mean, I don't have any way of knowing because I'm not, you know, seeing you on a clinical basis, but I would definitely mention it to your therapist for sure. And you guys, keeping a journal, especially if you don't see your mental health practitioner on a regular basis, keeping a journal is super duper duper helpful for the practitioners. For any of you who have a therapist, you have a counselor, you have a psychiatrist, you have a psychologist, when you choose to keep a journal of things or you keep a tracker sheet, ooh, Matt, I know you're juggling like a bajillion different things right now, but you have some tracker sheets and you have links to tracker sheets that are on your website, survivingmypast.net. If you were to do those types of tracker sheets and just all it is like an X, or some of it's like writing a couple of words, those things help your practitioner know that like maybe you're living with treatment-resistant depression. Or maybe there's just something that they can change. Like if you're taking an SSRI, if you have any type of medication that you're taking, you know, if you do a tracker sheet and then they see some similarities or like some patterns, they can say, oh, well, you know, I noticed during this particular week, this is what was going on with you. Like, was there something different? And it could be something environmental. It can be something dietary. It could be something work related. It can be weeks that like I've had people tell me that the weeks that they're here and they're showing up and they're hanging out with everybody, they actually feel better than the weeks that they don't. And so you'll be able to know those things if you keep it on a tracker sheet or just keep it on a journal, you know, so that's really helpful. But yeah, Joey, that could definitely be the case for sure. I don't want you to feel like you're all alone and that there's nothing you can do, because that definitely could be the case for sure. I don't have any way of knowing, but it's definitely a possibility. I hope that helps. Anne says, is there warning signs for depression coming on? It always feels like I'm instantly T-boned by depression. No warning signs that I know of or notice. I think that maybe like just like those 7 that I mentioned, we don't really think about that stuff sometimes. Like we don't think like, oh, like my diet has changed. Wow, I'm just not that hungry. Like I know for me personally, Mondays, like when I'm here, like on a Monday with you guys, I'm here and I'm full on and I'm here and I'm fully present and I'm all in and I'm here with you guys. But the time leading up to me being here with you, depending on if I'm triggered while doing research or if I'm overwhelmed with like other job duties or what else I have going on in my life, I forget to eat. And then like for a day or two after a Monday night video, I'm like, feeling like I can't get out of bed, or like what's wrong with me. And it's because I'm not taking care of myself, because I throw everything that I am into the work I'm doing, and I'm not practicing what I preach. I'm not walking my talk. I'm not going to bed 30 minutes earlier. I'm staying up later doing research. I'm not eating a balanced diet with chia seeds and flax seeds and cacao and kale and spinach and taking my vitamins. Like today I forgot to take my B12. Like I always take a B12. I forgot to take my B12. And I know every single time I forget to take my B12 that I don't feel as good. I feel like I don't have any energy. I feel like jittery and exhausted and weird and all the things mentioned in the depression. But I'm not saying I have depression because I didn't take a B12, but like, what are some warning signs? Like so that we don't get T-boned, like Anne says, I would say, sort of having like a checklist of those 7 things that I mentioned, and then things that you know help you. Like for me, waking up at a certain time and setting aside just a little bit of extra time to sit and have quiet time with my husband, whether that's praying for our community or if it's like reading scripture or reading something motivational or inspirational, or going for a little bit of a walk. Like if I don't do all the things that I know make me feel great, then I get T-boned. So if I keep a list of all the things that make me feel great, especially when I do them all in conjunction with one another, then I'm not going to get T-boned and sideswiped and taken out and like laid out in bed for 3 days. Because sometimes that happens, you guys. Sometimes it just does. I am healing right alongside you. I never claim to have it all together. I am here with you guys, not like talking at you. I'm talking with you because I'm doing this with you. We're doing life together. So, at least once a week we're doing life together. So I hope that's helpful. Julie says, why is it so hard for me to do anything when I'm depressed? All I want to do is sit and watch YouTube and play games all day. Well, it's because the chemicals in your brain are not like, we all have neurotransmitters and we all have things that are going on in our brain. And, you know, our bodies are so intricate. There are so many chemicals, and it can be just the slightest imbalance, and it can cause us to just feel like we just can't get out of bed or we have no motivation whatsoever. And interestingly, things can be environmental. I know we've talked a little bit about like seasons here on our channel a couple of times, but it can also be relational, like and with women, it can be hormonal. So I'm not pretending to know your hormones or your environment or your relationships or anything, Julie. But I am saying, like, for me and for most of my clients and for most of the people I know, if I were to look, or if they're to look like a snapshot on any given day, like what's going on seasonally, what's going on relationally, what's going on dietarily, what's going on with my sleep schedule, what's like, what are the things, and like what's going on with like my hormones. So sometimes it's just the slightest thing and it can cause us to just be wiped out. And back to Anne's question about warning signs. Anne, I have one. I have one that might work for you guys, but I don't know if it works for anybody but me. But I get a little tickle in the back of my throat, not like where you feel like you have to go and like clear your throat, but like it's higher up. It's higher up, almost towards like my larynx or something, like above my esophagus. And I can feel, and it's almost like something's connected to that little spot that I'm talking about, and it like touches the back of my sinus, and then it touches like the top of my head or like back by my ears. It's almost like ears, nose, throat, something like there's just a weird, almost like a wom, 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 like a pulsy sort of a feeling. And I'm like, oh, I'm getting ready to like not be okay. I can feel it. And so when that happens, I drink a lot of water. I try to find some like emergency or something with a lot of vitamin C in it. I know that kale has a lot of vitamin C. I know something with just a lot of antioxidants, like cherries, those dark cherries that you can get at Costco for super cheap. I'll just make like a smoothie, but with nothing in it except for like a cup of orange juice, water, and cherries, because it's like all vitamin C. It's like a vitamin C like booster blast or something. Or even like a cherry lime, like you know how like Sonic, like I remember on the mainland, I don't know if you guys still do, but we had Sonic and they had like a cherry limeade and dark cherries with like some lime juice, like a quarter cup of lime juice with just some water. And then I'll just make like a slushie. And I'll just sit back and I'll just drink it and I'll just force myself to sit still and do it. And then I know like, okay, I'm not going to get taken out. Now I know that I'm talking a lot about like vitamin C and what does that have to do with depression. But if our immune system is strong and we're getting enough rest and we're drinking enough fluids and all of that, it really, when we're overly exhausted, depression will take us out. It'll punch us in the face, like seriously. So I hope that helps you, Julie, and you, Anne. Deborah says, I deal with ideation of BPD, CPTSD, and dissociation. Are there signs or difference between the three that I can look for? I need to know what you mean by ideation of BPD, CPTSD, and dissociation. Like you deal with thoughts of borderline, thoughts of complex trauma, thoughts of dissociation. I'm not 100% certain what you mean, Deborah, so just clarify, and then I'll come back to it for sure. Sorry about that. I want to make sure I answer your question as good as possible, like so that it helps you. Joey says, lately I've been having more trouble with taking a shower. I have new memories of abuse in the shower. Is this common with depression, and am I the only one? First question, is this common with depression? I'm not sure if having memories of being abused in the shower is common with depression, but are you the only one? No. I personally live with depression surrounding personal hygiene, specifically bathroom stuff, because a lot of it was very, very, very traumatizing for me to be in the bathroom when I was younger. There's abuse that happened to me in the bathroom several times, or there was a lot of screaming and yelling through the bathroom door because I wasn't worthy of being a human who was allowed to take a shower. Like, I had to only take a 5-minute shower, even though I had hair down to my waist. Like, no one with hair down to their waist can possibly clean their entire body and wash and condition their hair and go to the bathroom and brush their teeth in 5 minutes. Like, it's impossible. But when someone's screaming at you, you're doing all you can to be perfect. And so that's sort of like, that is more, to answer your question specifically, Joey, I don't think that has as much to do with depression as it does PTSD. So, but PTSD plus depression equals, like, that's a big deal. A lot of people end up with suicidal ideation when they're living with depression and PTSD, because being triggered, and then on top of being triggered, being depressed and not being able to do anything about it, and then add in all the hopelessness, and you end up with suicidal ideation. So I say all that to say this: you need to reach out for professional help, for sure. You guys need to reach out. You guys deserve trauma-informed care. You deserve professional help, and you need it. Like, these videos are not enough. You need to reach out for professional help. And I think that the stuff with the bathroom has less to do with depression and more to do with PTSD. And that's just my personal lived experience, even my own clinical perspective. I hope that was helpful. Grace Hope says, I often wonder what it is like to be happy, and if I will be depressed and sad for the rest of my life, and if I will even know what happy is. Oh, Grace Hope, I'm so sorry you're feeling this way. This is a common thing that my clients will say to me. They're like, how am I going to know, like, what does normal even look like? What does healthy and happy even look like? I don't know what healthy and happy looks like. I don't know what normal is. And am I ever going to feel normal? And I want to tell you this. Yes, I believe you will. You are here every week, or as often as you can be. You're doing the hard work. Hold on, I need a sip of water. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, guys. Okay. You guys are doing all you can do. I'm talking to you, Grace. I don't think that how you're feeling right now is going to be forever. You and I were messaging privately about some different clinical possibilities and treatment possibilities, and I really have high hopes for those. And yeah, I want to encourage all of you guys that the way you're feeling today is temporary. It's a season. Even if you've been in this season for quite some time. For instance, I have a client. This is a great example, Grace Hope. So I have a client who's been feeling pretty low for about 1.5 years. Well, this particular client just messaged me, and actually it was like a rather long email, letting me know, hey, I did some different things and I'm having some favorable results, and I wanted to check in with you to see if it's possible that these things are causing these types of favorable results. And so she messaged me and said, you know, I was feeling this way for about 1.5 years, and then I started doing this, this, and this, and just like within a week I was feeling better. Is that even possible? I don't even want to get my hopes up, Athena. Like, is it possible? And the answer that I wrote back is yes, it's absolutely possible, 100%. And some of the things that she was doing was she went on like a social media sabbatical. And I know I've talked with you guys about this previously, and this is not a popular topic because many of you love social media and it's your only means of support. And you don't have like really healthy, awesome trauma-informed practitioners. And so you get all of your support through social media, the majority of your support through social media. And so I'm not trying to say cut yourself off and like don't receive the support you need, because you need support. But some of the things that she wrote to me were she went on a social media sabbatical. So she was off of social media. I want to say she said it was for 3 days or 4 days. She slept like 4 extra hours each night than she normally has been sleeping because she wasn't sleeping very much. Drinking extra fluids, and what was the other? There was like one more thing. Interacted socially, like forced herself to interact socially, like where there could only be like a positive outcome. Like I think she went to like a coffee shop or a diner or something, and to where the person that waited on her was kind to her, or she asked for something and they can't tell you no, and then you pay and they give you what you asked for, and just those few things. The social media sabbatical, the interacting live in a live social setting and having it go favorably, setting yourself up for success in that way, sleeping more, drinking more fluids. I mean, I wish I could show you this email. I mean, obviously my client emails are confidential and I would never do that. But like, I'm just saying, you guys, first of all, I was so encouraged by this email. And to know that a few key things have such an immediate, dramatic result. I mean, she felt as though like her medication was changed, or like she was a different person. That's the drasticness of it. And all it was a social media sabbatical, more sleep, extra fluids, and social interaction intentionally, where the outcome was only able to be favorable, which we've talked about that on videos previously, where you set yourself up for a good situation socially, like whether that's going through the drive-through, ordering something, having someone be nice to you, you pay for it, they give it to you. That's a successful experience. Not everybody does those things. Not everybody leaves their house. There's a lot of people that are here on our channel that stay in their homes. They do not interact with other humans. They are afraid to interact with other humans because their PTSD is so debilitating. And because they're living with depression, and because they have social anxiety that is just unbearable. And they don't even go to their therapy appointments. Like, they canceled their therapy appointments. So I'm telling you that this particular client felt like a new human. And all she did was 4 days, I can't remember if it was 3 days or 4 days on social media, off of social media, and intentionally just caring for herself, drinking more fluids intentionally, resting when she felt like resting. She slept an average of 4 hours more per night, and intentionally went out into the world and had a favorable social experiences once or twice. So, and she felt like someone gave her pills, like happy pills. Like, she just felt happier and good and whole and better. So if you get nothing else out of this video other than that story that's real, that just happened, then please, like, take that for what it's worth. So, I mean, Grace Hope, I hope that gives you some hope. Like, I know how you're feeling, how you've described it to me previously. I have great hope from what you've shared with me privately about some treatment options that you're considering. And just the success story from this client that I shared with you, it's been almost like miraculous, seriously. So please don't give up, you guys. Please do not give up. Gary says, the key to my recovery from depression is giving up holding all the negative stuff down, letting it release despite my fear that it will destroy me. Does this relate to others? Oh my goodness. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, Gary. I'm telling you, I have at least 1 or 2 emails every single week for 3 years of people telling me, I feel better just releasing all the things I've been holding on to, just sharing them in an email, sending them to you. like usually the email starts out with something like, I'm hoping this email won't be very long. Please excuse it if it is. I've never said anything to anybody and I'm 70 years old, or I'm 65, or I'm 55, or I'm 72, or I'm 48, or I'm 38, or whatever. I've never told a living soul all the stuff that I'm about ready to tell you. That's how the email starts. And by the time they get to the bottom, they're like, I feel better. Like, there's really something to be said for that. And I don't know if you guys take advantage of this as much as you possibly could, but I have 90 seconds of talk therapy available to anyone on my website. And there is something to be said for talk therapy. I have a little button on the bottom of my website. It doesn't matter if you're on a cell phone, a tablet, or a computer. If you click, you can record your voice telling me your story, sharing something you've never shared before to me, a stranger who will never meet you probably, and just getting it out and not holding it in anymore. And it limits you to 90 seconds. And then some of my regulars will be like, my last message got cut off. I'll try to wrap it up. And they'll leave me several messages. And I never mind when you guys do that. It's totally fine. But there's something to be said for talk therapy. There's something to be said for that. Just speaking, just talking out loud. Or I know I have a colleague, you know, we'll be talking, be like, okay, I'm just spitballing here. I'm just throwing ideas out here. I'm just thinking out loud. There's transformation that happens. There's light bulb moments that happen. And Gary, I love that you said that's the key for you. I think that's the word you use. It's the key. The key to my recovery from depression is giving up holding all the negative stuff down, letting it release despite my fear that it will destroy me. You know, you guys, it's like I remember laying on top of my bed, frozen, afraid to look under my bed, knowing that if I looked under my bed that there would be something scary down there, and just being paralyzed, laying on top of my bed, afraid to look under my bed, knowing that if I looked under my bed that something scary would get me. And it would be like that movie Poltergeist. Like, who lets their children watch the movie Poltergeist? Who does that? Oh my gosh, it's horrible. Or like that movie It. I mean, come on, you guys, that's horrible. So I remember laying there on top of my bed, totally paralyzed, just paralyzed, just paralyzed. Like, I can't look under my bed because it's going to be something really scary under there. Or like, it can't turn on the light because if I turn on the light, something scary will be there. I can't look in the closet. And then I would just get like, maybe once every 5 years when you're little, you get your guts up and you're just like, you know what? No, I'm going to turn on the flashlight. I'm going to turn on the light. I'm going to look under the bed. And you look and there's nothing there. And you feel better. You like conquer your fear. So there's something to be said for Gary's strategy here. There's something to be said for Gary's, the key to his recovery, not holding it down. Even though he thinks it's going to destroy him, he lets it out. And that's been true for me. So the last part of your question, Gary, the last part of your question was, does this relate to others? It relates to me. I'm another. I'm a others. But I'm willing to bet that it relates to some people over in the chat box right now. I bet you anything. People are like, me too, yes, yes, yes. Or they're willing to try it perhaps. So Heroes Don't Wear Capes says, I found myself hunting down and documenting evidence from when I was trafficked, just in case my abuser ever killed me. It was strange. I didn't put that energy into trying to find safety. Yes, you know, I can totally relate to that. And I want to allow you to release yourself from that responsibility for a minute, Heroes Don't Wear Capes, because, you know, the reason we don't put that much energy into being safe is because we truly believe when we're being abused that there is no such thing as safe. We're sort of frozen when we're being abused. And when we're adults and we're hunting down all that stuff, we truly feel that if we find the answer to what it is that we're pouring all this energy into, that it's going to sort of like help us like be able to breathe and go, okay, it's real. It really is real. It really did happen, and it really is valid, and I needed that. And then the next step is moving towards like being safe. Sometimes we can't move towards being safe or put all of our energy into being safe unless we really believe that it's valid and that it really happened. And if our abusers were in our family of origin, the people who trafficked us, the people who abused us, the people who scapegoated us, the people who manipulated us or mind controlled us, if they were in our family of origin or they were people who we trusted, then we might not even believe, like, surely that it didn't happen. Otherwise, someone would have stopped it and someone would have said something. And we like rationalize the whole thing thinking that it couldn't have been the way we remember it. Because if it was the way we remember it, someone would have never let that happen. It never would have happened, ever. And so we almost like, we have to like prove that it did first. And then we can put that energy into feeling safe. So I just want to release you from that responsibility of doing everything in like a perfect order, the way your adult mind thinks that perfect order is, when at the time you were a child. And then when you're trying to figure it all out, you're still traumatized. So our child brain and our trauma brain are way different than our wise brain. So I just want to, I'm going to leave that right there for you so that you don't should yourself all over the place. Because I felt some shaminess going on there. I felt some shaming. It was a little shamey the way you worded that. And I don't want you shaming yourself because you don't deserve that. Sparkle Girl 87 says, how do you deal with the physical depression symptoms? Ooh, that's a good question. Let's see. So I would say that number one, I would be kind to myself. So if physically I'm feeling like I can't get out of bed, I can't brush my teeth, or I can't take a shower, or I can't drink a lot of water, I just am feeling like I just can't, then I would be kind to myself and be like, you know what? I feel like I can't right now, and I'm not going to shame myself into doing it. I'm going to allow myself to lay here for as long as I need to lay here so that I don't shame myself. And then when I'm done being kind to myself so that I'm intentionally not shaming myself, then I would do all the things that we were talking about on the video, like eating more plant-based, eating more raw, eating raw cacao, which, by the way, don't eat a lot of raw cacao at nighttime. Fun fact, it has like natural chemicals, like, and it like acts like caffeine. So it tastes like chocolate, by the way, which is where cocoa comes from. The cocoa leaf, and like cacao is like similar, but different. So yeah, don't have that at nighttime if you're having trouble sleeping, because I learned that the hard way. But eating more raw, eating more vegan, eating more plant-based. There's a whole video. Gosh, Harriet, I think Harriet already popped up the YouTube card if you're watching a replay, and Harriet's going to link down all the videos below as well if you're watching a replay. But I did a whole video on like anti-inflammatory foods and ways that we can feel better physically. And tackle like the physical symptoms that we deal with as trauma survivors. So it might not be exactly what you're looking for, but that's kind of all I really know. Like, that's what I'm doing, and it's helping me and it's helping my clients. And I wish I could like give you more awesomeness, Sparkle Girl 87. I don't know. Just being kind to yourself, drinking lots of fluids, getting extra rest, eating anti-inflammatory foods, eating whole foods, vegan foods, raw foods, taking a B12, all the things that we mentioned earlier. Let's see. Oh, Deborah's question earlier. Okay. Deborah's question earlier says, I deal with the feeling of worth, value, and purpose. Oh my goodness. Okay, so her first question was, I deal with ideation of BPD, CPTSD, and dissociation. Are there signs and differences between the three that I can look for? And then the follow-up was the feeling of worth, value, and purpose. And I just don't know what any of that means. And I'm so like thick-brained, and it's totally my fault, Deborah. It's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. I just don't know. No clue. I don't know how to answer that. let me try to piece it together because I have 4 minutes left here on this video. So I deal with the feeling of worth, value, and purpose. Are there differences between the three that I can look for? I don't know. I'm so sorry. I can't. Deborah, if you could email me, athena@athenamoberg.com, that would be amazing. Just ask me like a longer question. That way I can answer it, and maybe I'll leave you a speak pipe, or leave me a speak pipe message on my website, athenamoberg.com, and then just click and just talk, and then I'll just respond and just talk back to you, and it'll be fine, hopefully. One last question. Marilena says, Athena, is being afraid to go to sleep and then not wanting to raise in the morning part of depression, or is that more PTSD? So honestly, it feels a little bit more like PTSD to me, because a lot of people living with post-traumatic stress disorder that have nightmares, night terrors, or it could even be like CPTSD type. I know that that wasn't one of your things that you mentioned, but like emotional flashbacks are a real thing if we're dealing with complex trauma. And so if you are feeling afraid to fall asleep because of something that happens in the middle of the night, and then feeling exhausted from not sleeping well and not wanting to wake up in the morning, that could be a result of emotional flashbacks or night terrors, or like a combination of all of it. Now, feeling afraid to fall asleep isn't necessarily something that's only depression related, but it is one of the 7, right? Like restlessness, not being able to relax, and then feeling like you don't want to get out of bed. That is a part of depression, and it's sort of listed as one of the 7 as well. So it could be depression, and it could be PTSD, or it could be both. And I know that that doesn't help you. But I think what I would do, Marilena, is, I think it's Marilena Diaz, I think, is who asked this question. So I would look at the other 6 symptoms on depression and see if all of those correlate. And if so, I would look deeply into reaching out to your therapist, your practitioner, talking to them about clinical depression, major depressive disorder, and mentioning to them that you're afraid to go to sleep at night, you're having trouble, you have restlessness, and the way the restlessness is manifesting itself is through being afraid to fall asleep, and then you don't have the will to get out of bed in the mornings. And I think one of the main things that I would focus on, Marilena, is I would be like, well, do I have any words to describe all these things that I'm feeling, or do I just have no words? Like, I just can't describe why I have no will to live or no will to do anything. Like, or is it I'm tired because I didn't sleep well, and I'm really frustrated because what's going on at work, and this coworker is talking about me, and I know that when I get to work I'm going to be bullied, or I'm going to be manipulated into doing a project that I don't want to do. And so not wanting to get out of bed is really a result of being dissatisfied in the workplace, which is maybe they're bullying you, which could remind you of being bullied when you were younger. And then not wanting to fall asleep or having trouble falling asleep could be a whole thing of, like, you could be in a re-traumatization situation, like at work, or maybe your sister keeps texting you, or you know that once you fall asleep, your phone's gonna beep. And you know, you have someone that's gonna reach out to you, and they're gonna be expecting something from you before you wake up in the morning. This happens a lot, like where people work like on a global scale, where like, when they show up at work, they're already like 8 hours behind the 8 ball. Like they have like all these emails waiting for them. So it's completely overwhelming because they have all these clients in other countries. That can really grate on someone over time and create low grade sort of what looks like depression, or I can never say dysthymia, but like just like sort of a low grade depression that sort of just goes on, because you're just like, there's no solving this. I'm in this line of work. There's nothing I can do. Every day I show up and there's like 50 emails waiting for me, and I have all these things that I should have done, but I was sleeping. And so falling asleep at night becomes really stressful because you know that no matter how early you wake up, by the time you get to work, you're 8 hours behind and you have all these angry emails waiting for you. So it could mean like a shift in your career, in your job. It could be, or it could be, you know, being bullied at work, or it could be like the way you're treated, you know, when you show up at the parking garage at work. Like it could be a whole bunch of different things, but I would look into the list that we have on the video tonight of the 7 things that indicate whether it's sadness or if it's like really depression, like the 7 warning signs of depression. I would see if they all match up. But either way, like, you deserve excellent care, you guys. You guys all deserve excellent trauma-informed care. And I want you to reach out to your practitioner and I want you to say, hey, I might not have been discussing this with you, but I noticed that I have all these symptoms and I want to talk with you about them, because you deserve it. You deserve to have excellent care. You deserve to be treated if you're living with depression. You deserve to feel better and to receive the trauma-informed care that you've always deserved that perhaps you didn't have access to. So I hope this has been helpful for you guys. I've really enjoyed sharing this with you and hopefully equipping you with everything you need to feel better. Just, I mean, whether it's emotional flashbacks or anything CPTSD related or depression related, you guys deserve to feel better. And I'm hoping that I equipped you with what you need to feel better. So I would love to hear from you down in the comment section of the video. I can't see the chat box. So if you guys wanted to wait until after the chat box is like done and I'm done recording, because I'm going to stop the video right now, be respectful of your time. And then I'll be able to see the comments. But if you guys wanted to leave me a speak pipe on my website as well, please feel free to do that. So I hope this has been helpful for you. And Deborah Herendine, I'm so sorry that I wasn't more helpful, and I will go ahead and respond on SpeakPipe or send me an email. And just thank you guys. Thank you for being here and supporting one another. I look forward to seeing you again next Monday and every Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, here for live Q&A. And I hope you guys have a great week. This has been wonderful. Thanks for being here. Bye, guys.